All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Unlocking Workforce Ready Education, the role of credit for prior learning and flexible pathways. I'm Brooke Pearman-Kills, Director of Events and Professional Development, and it's my pleasure to kick off today's webinar. CALE, a nonprofit membership organization, was founded 51 years ago to help organizations succeed by providing expertise, resources, and solutions that effectively support working adult learners as they navigate on and off ramps between education and employment. We partner with entities across the adult learner ecosystem to help create actionable career pathways along the journey of lifelong learning and meaningful work. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Attendees are on mute and not on video, but we'd love to see you join in the conversation by entering your thoughts into the chat box. Please enter your questions into the Q&A feature as you have them. The speakers will answer the questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and a recording will be shared with all who have registered. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat as well. With that, I'd like to turn this over to Olivia Mascaro Hoffman, Partner Success Associate with Sophia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke. And thank you, Kale, for having us today to present on workforce ready education. Again, my name is Olivia Mascaro Hoffman. I'll be one of your presenters today. Just a really quick agenda as we get started. We'll start with some brief introductions, as well as discuss why credit for prior learning matters, get into some flexible education pathways for adult learners, talk about partnering to support career advancement with students and businesses, and then we'll do a quick learner testimonial to wrap us up and have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So as Brooke mentioned, feel free to throw those questions in the chat or in the Q&A section, and Jamie and I will go through them at the end. Again, my name is Olivia Mascaro Hoffman. I'm the Partner Success Associate at Sophia, lucky enough to be working with Champlain College Online and Jamie. I come from a background primarily in higher education student supports. Prior to coming to Sophia, I worked with non-traditional students, adult and online learners across the State University of New York system, as well as small private colleges as well, and did a brief stint in education technology before coming to Sophia. I'm located in Albany, New York, and I'll pass it over to Jamie.
Thanks, Olivia. My name is Jamie Camp. I am the relationship manager at Champlain College Online. And what that means is I get to work with all of the fabulous people who work in the federal government, the military, community colleges, and all of our corporate partnerships. So anyone that likes to talk about lower tuition, that's who I get to work with. I also have worked in higher ed for over 20 years. And I'll tell you, I feel like I've done every position. So I've been a faculty member, a portfolio evaluator. I've been a development manager, director of auxiliaries. I've kind of done everything. And I will tell you, I'm extremely passionate about prior learning. So I'm very happy that Olivia and I get to talk to you about this today.
Thanks, Jamie. Really quickly, just a little bit about Sophia for those of you that aren't familiar. Our mission here at Sophia is to empower economic mobility through accessible education. So I'm sure we all know that the demographic of a traditional learner is changing and more students are needing flexibility in their learning and academic plans. Because of Sophia's online asynchronous course offerings, we've been able to save students $820 million, $820 million, again, dollars in tuition by awarding over 2.4 million transfer credits. So a quick caveat here, Sophia is not a degree granting institution. Those credits are ACE recommended. Our courses are evaluated by ACE for credit recommendations, and then they transfer into institutions like CCO for credit at those institutions that accept those. So we offer over 70 courses. We have over 80 partner universities and institutions. So of course, I think, as a biased Sophia employee, these numbers speak for themselves. But what I'm most proud of are the quotes that we get from students here. I'll just read Shayla's quote, one of our Sophia learners really quickly. The flexibility of learning at my own pace, coupled with the high quality content, has allowed me to tailor my educational journey to my specific needs. It's more than just an online learning platform. It's a dynamic and engaging community that fosters collaboration and shared learning experiences. So as someone who comes from a background in credit for prior learning and CPL and student supports, I know how important it is to be able to meet students where they're at. And at Sophia, we're able to do that with partners like CCO. And I'll pass it back to Jamie to talk a little bit more about CCO specifically.
Thank you. So CCO, we have been in the online space for over 31 years. Champlain College is located in Burlington, Vermont, and we have been an institution since 1878. We offer over 100 online degrees and certificates, with cyber and business management really being our most popular. Our courses are all asynchronous with 100% online with no residency options. So our students complete everything online. We don't charge an application fee, and we have 70 transfer courses that work with Sophia. So some of our goals really is making education more accessible and financially feasible for our students. We ensure those high quality academic experiences by maintaining educational excellence and rigorous standards. We like to empower our students, giving them agency, resources, and support to succeed. And I think all of your students as well would appreciate, they want to get to the finish line faster. So we focus on graduation rates and successful career outcomes, getting them to their end of their degrees as quickly as they want to go. And I think all of these really form a comprehensive framework for our educational improvement and addressing accessibility, quality, student empowerment, and successful outcomes. So why does CPL matter? It's incredibly important. So CPL really helps institutions serve a growing population of those adult learners who need flexible, affordable education pathways. Think of the working adults that we service. It's incredibly valuable to them. By recognizing their prior learning, institutions can remove financial and time barriers. And we know those are two very important things for students, that time and affordability. And this really helps increase the degree completion rates for our students. Integrating CPL into degree programs, it not only strengthens the institutional's commitment to equity, access, and lifelong learning. So when we think about enhancing student retention and success, adult learners who receive CPL are more likely to persist and graduate as they see that clear pathway ahead of them. They can see where the finish line is, and it really encourages them. It's a great booster for their engagement, and it validates their prior experiences. By seeing you come with all of this great work experience and knowledge, it makes them feel recognized and feel motivated to complete their courses. And flexible CPL policies reduce attrition by helping learners really balance education with, all those other things that come up in life, the work, the life, the kids, the husband, the wife, the animals, all of those things. It really helps balance those. And really building stronger partnerships with employers and workforce development. So institutions that support CPL can strengthen relationships with employers that are looking to upskill their workforce. And CPL-aligned programs create those seamless pathways between work-based learning, training programs, and higher education. By collaborating with industry partners, institutions can really develop CPL policies that align with workforce needs and increase enrollment for the working professionals that we serve.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Sort of in tandem with that flexibility when it comes to adult learners, but really any learner returning to the classroom or entering the higher education space for the first time, transparency, transferability, and flexibility are such large key pieces to that student success. So what you see here on your screen is just an example of some of the courses that CCO has mapped with Sophia. It's not a comprehensive list, and I'm sure Jamie can tell you how many more courses they have mapped with Sophia. But it's also not, comprehensive of our course catalog. But just to give a visual of what that looks like, what CCO does really well here is it gives students, regardless of where they're at in their academic journey, clear insight into the transferability and the transparency. Particularly again for folks re-entering the higher education space, it is so easy to feel overwhelmed with the amount of decisions they have to make. And this is on top of what's often, like Jamie said, very full plate. So they've got kids, caregiver responsibilities. Jamie, I'm glad you brought up animals. There's a very loud dog snoring at my feet right now. So we know that for these students, school isn't the only thing. They're not only students there. Their parents, their caretakers, their spouses, siblings, and so on and so forth. And that sort of decision fatigue is a huge contributor to stopouts, as well as delayed enrollments that never end up articulating. So in order to create that flexibility, transferability, and transparency, CCO has utilized their partnership with Sophia to offer that flexible alternative pathway to credit at CCO. So by mapping their course equivalencies directly on the Sophia landing page, CCO provides students with a direct look into how their transfer credits from Sophia will apply to their degree program at CCO. One of the other things I wanted to point out here is that within the CCO course mapping, you'll see for microbiology, that's 1XX, as my fellow higher ed folks will tell you, is not a course ID number. That's going to give you an error. But what CCO has done here is allowed for flexibility in that. So microbiology doesn't necessarily come in as Science 101 or Science 102. It gives the students the opportunity to apply it to their degree plan in a way that makes sense for them. So if I'm a CCO student and I go to Jamie and I say, okay, I'm ready to come to CCO, I have a couple CPL portfolio pieces I want evaluated, and I have some, undergraduate credits from 5 years ago. It was much more than 5 years ago. And then I also have some Sophia courses that I want to take, but I'm not sure how they're going to fit in my degree program. I'm able to sort of not necessarily pick what I want, but able to have the flexibility to take courses that make sense, not only based on the time I've spent in a classroom, but work experience, other learning opportunities like Sophia, and so on and so forth. This allows for maximum flexibility in student credits to ensure the fastest, most flexible path to degree completion. And in conjunction with that flexibility, the partnership between Champlain College Online and Sophia's ultimate goals, mine and Jamie's ultimate goals, are to increase opportunity, expand access, and accelerate progress. So CCO students can enroll in courses at Sophia at an affordable rate and not have to worry about things like textbook fees, lab fees. Everything is included right in the Sophia LMS. Because we offer free resources on top of that, like tutoring, access to our learning coaches, we're really able to meet students where they are at. And I sort of consider Sophia just one piece of the student success toolkit for students at our partner institutions. So students are able to complete these courses on their own time while accessing free success tools offered by Sophia. This again transfers those credits back to CCO. And with those resources like the learning coaches and the tutoring, we're really able to meet students where they're at. When I was working with adult learners in the past, and we've really reiterated this several times, but we've got students who work full time and they have kids at home, so school for them is not going to be an 8 to 3:30 type of thing. It's going to be 9 o'clock at night after dinner and the dishes and the kids and the dogs are fed. And so by creating success tools that meet students where they're at, like access to our supports 24/7, we're able to continue to offer flexibility beyond the modality of the class, beyond in-person, hybrid, online learning. It's all online, all asynchronous. When we say at Sophia that we are students are able to complete on their own time, we really do mean that we are going to meet you where you are at, regardless of where in the education journey you may be.
Excellent. Thank you, Olivia. So, all right, let's talk about partnerships. So at CCO, we call the partnerships that we have with organizations, the federal government, we call them, that is the TruEd program. So TruEd's workforce development solutions really address several key organizational challenges. So by strategically develop employees, particularly those with leadership potential, we have a lot of leadership programs that we really kind of work in with our curriculum. It can help employers build strong internal talent pipelines, reducing hiring costs and improving succession plans. So by cultivating those essential soft skills for these students, you know, those creativity, the problem solving, the communication, it can really enhance team collaboration, innovation, and adaptability in today's rapidly changing business environment. And the thing that I love the most, I love talking about, is that affordability. So we offer a preferred tuition rate for all of the True Ed organizations. And our True Ed organizations have educational agreements with us. So we allow those employees, their spouse and domestic partners, and their adult children to be able to get that preferred tuition rate. And I will tell you, in working with these organizations, what they report back is that students love it because it really shows the commitment to them, their education, and then their family's educational advancement. It's really great when you see the entire family is kind of included in this. And of all of the great things that Olivia and I have talked about, the next slide kind of wraps all of them up in the perfect student. So Brenda, I love Brenda. Brenda is a True Ed employee. She works for one of our banking partners, and she came to us. So she had a little bit of college, not a lot, but she's had 12 years of banking and accounting experience that could count towards her degree. So she sat down and worked with our director of prior learning assessment. Her name is Tina Goodyear. She is absolutely phenomenal. She used to work with NCCRS. She knows ACE credit. She knows this tremendously. She is truly an expert in the field. So she sat down with Tina and worked on developing that portfolio that earned her credit for that real world experience. And once Tina has this portfolio, she takes it over to our program directors and program chairs. They review it and agree and say, yep, so this person can get 5 credits, or this person can get 20 credits, or this person can get 30 credits. However much experience they have that can equate to that college curriculum equivalency, they get the credits for. Now, Brenda is with a great employer because they pay the $52.50 annual tuition assistance. So they help keep the costs down. So paired with our preferred tuition pricing and that tuition assistance, you know, Brenda really didn't have to spend that much to go to college. But the great thing about Brenda is, since she didn't have a lot of those classes in the 1 and 200 level, she said, I want to take the summer off, because, you know, don't our students want that? They'll come in the spring, they'll come in the fall, but the summer is like, yeah, I've got to go to the beach. We've got things to do. Brenda said, you know what? I'm going to take 4 Sophia courses over the summer. By taking those 4 courses, she accelerated her timeline by 6 months. And she got to really, it was self-paced. So it allowed her to go to the beach and vacation, go watch the kids play soccer, get a little sun, work in the garden, all of those fun things that we do. She could do that in that self-paced time and saved herself a couple of thousands of dollars in that tuition assistance and 6 months closer to the finish line. So Brenda could see those tangible results, and it encouraged her to, you know, keep going. Because let's be honest, when you have a student that comes in and they don't have a bachelor's degree and they're looking at how can we get to that finish line, those 120 credits can be a little daunting. So we need to give them the tools for them to succeed. How can we help you save money? How can we help you make sure that you persist and reach your goals? And I love the partnership that we have with Sophia, because our academic advisors, once those students get admitted, they can look and say, well, you know what? Why don't we get you some classes over at Sophia? Because it'll save you time, it'll save you money, and it'll help you get to the end of your program. And I think that's what most of us truly want to see. We want to see that success. We want to see the students with more money in their pockets so they can go and do the fun things for the summertime and really get them to that finish line as quickly as they want. So I think that kind of wraps us up, Olivia.
It does. Sorry, I was
It-
finding the mute button, the unmute button. But yeah, go right ahead, Jamie.
So if anyone has any questions for us, I'll go back in and scan the chat. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Type in the chat, ask us. We are here.
There is one in the chat that says, what is the value of structuring work-based learning? The value of structuring work-based learning partnerships as CPL rather than through a credit agreement?
Okay, I can take that one, Libby. So, Zach, when I think about the relationships that we have with community colleges, so let's just say that we have an adult that's been going to community colleges. It's a working adult. They've been taking night classes at the community college, and it's time for them to transfer to, earn their bachelor's degree. So let's just say we take that 60 credits. So we have the articulation with the community college where we've created that pathway already, and we've got those 60 credits. We will allow students to transfer in 90 credits. So let's just say this particular student has been working like our friend Brenda was, and they've been working for, let's just even say 10 years, and they've been working in computers and they're going to get a degree in computer science. We can still look at that work-based experience and grant them credit for what they've done above and beyond that 60 credits. So we do have articulation agreements with our community colleges, but we also allow for, if the community colleges haven't completed the prior learning with them, then we can look at that as well. And honestly, I'll tell you too, even on top of that, when you look at some of the upper level courses, let's just say they need a statistics course that they didn't get in their associates. And they need to get that to take that 300 level course, then we can look at them and say, hey, why don't you go over to Sophia, get that statistic class, in the midst of, you completing your other classes. But it's all about, we're big on those credit articulation agreements, but if they have anything above and beyond that, we like to give them credit for that as well. Oh, thanks, Zach.
We have another one in the Q&A. Do you offer a workshop for people to create their portfolios? Also, is there a cost for the portfolio to be evaluated by the faculty?
Oh, Sarah, I will tell you, I'm letting you in on a little secret. So we do not charge for the portfolio. We are one of the only schools that I know of. I've worked at other institutions as a portfolio evaluator. So at CCO, the student meets directly with our director of prior learning assessment, and she works with them, meets with them one-on-one, has different coaching sessions with them to really create the portfolio. I don't want to say that it's not a huge lift. It's a manageable lift because Dr. Goodwin is just Goodyear is when I say Dr. Goodyear, Tina is just phenomenal at what she does. And she sits and goes through the work experience and really kind of gives them the blueprint to lay their portfolio out. And Tina works very closely with our program directors. So she has conversations with them as she's, working with a student and says, oh, maybe the student has this great experience, and the program director can give that feedback and say, either if it's in computers, oh, that's too old, that's not going to count. Or they can say, oh, you know what, that's very relevant, that would count for this course. So it's a give and take, but it doesn't cost them anything to meet with Tina. So I will always encourage that conversation. Even when I was a portfolio evaluator at another institution, when I was teaching a gen ed course, and I would tell students that came in, I'm like, do you guys know about portfolio evaluation, and kind of educate them. So I think it's the thing that we do at CCO is our faculty and our academic advisors are huge advocates for this. So really kind of setting that expectation that it's not going to take up, 1,000 hours of your time this semester. It's going to be really manageable. And Tina is the best guide at kind of getting them there.
Are there any concerns about Sophia courses not being accepted as prerequisites for graduate schools? I worry about that with students.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of the transferability, it's ultimately up to the institution. So like CCO, you saw those courses were mapped. Microbiology is science, an intro science course. In terms of graduate schools, I think ultimately would depend on one, whether the institution that they're transferring to. So if I went to CCO and then I wanted to go to medical school, for example, would CCO accept that? If you want to send that question to my email, I'm happy to get you a more specific response, specific to the grad school piece of it. But ultimately, if I were a student and I would say, I want to go to grad school and I want my microbiology course to count as that, that would be something we would encourage the students to work with their academic advisor on. But I do want to get you a clearer answer to that. So whoever asked that question, and I apologize, I can't see the Q&A when I share my screen. If you could send that question to my email, I can definitely get you in touch with the right person to give you a better answer to that question.
Awesome. Some university faculty who don't teach in the online space can be a bit skeptical of CPL and credit for prior learning granting institutions. Can you speak to ways of persuading such skeptics that it is a valid academic achievement?
So Glenn, I've worked with them before, so I do know them. I think it's really in the framework of the way that it's approached. So when we work with students, we have a shell of the classroom. So the shell of the classroom has all of the learning objectives on them. Students have to show that they have the knowledge to meet those learning objectives. So when you're working with a student and they're developing the portfolio, if it's for, whatever class it's particular to, the students have to lay it out in the same way that the course is. So here's a learning objective. Let's give however many examples. When I was at Purdue, we looked at about 3 different work examples per learning objective for them to lay out. I will tell you, outside of, at CCO, the academic leadership reviews the portfolio. When I was with Purdue, I was a faculty member and a course lead. I reviewed them for it. I think if you can bring those faculty members that are in a more traditional setting that are like, I don't know about this, bring them a portfolio that's completed and give them time to look at it and review it and spend a little time with them. Because I've worked on a campus, I've worked online. I understand that there is hesitation there can be hesitation on both sides, but when you get that faculty involved with a faculty member or a department chair on your online side to really kind of show them and get feedback from them, that might help them kind of get over the edge. But I think once some of those faculty members see what an actual portfolio looks like and understand what goes into it, I think that might be persuasive, because sometimes it can be. People think, they worked at, they worked at this job for 2 years and you're going to give them, three classes of credit. How is that? So equating it and having that working, living resume of the student to kind of show that work. Olivia, do you anything to add to that? Because I think you have it from a different perspective as well.
Yeah, I think it ultimately, I love your suggestion, Jamie, of showing them like a completed portfolio. Because I think, you know, to me and Jamie, I feel like in some folks in higher ed, CPL is not necessarily new, but to a lot of people it still is. So it still feels a little bit scary. But to give them like a real portfolio of, okay, Olivia worked this job for X amount of time, and within this job, she completed X. So, on the Sophia side of things, one of the things that we do when we look at our course syllabi and things like that is we really focus on learning outcomes, learning objectives, and things like that. And then when partner institutions like CCO look to see like, okay, would Sophia make sense as a Science 101 equivalency? They focus a lot on those learning objectives. The same thing I think can be said in a credit for prior learning space of if I'm working in a job in marketing, for example, and for 5 years, my objective within my role is the same as a course learning objective, then it can be transferred. And I think too, it's at a really high level, it's really hard to visualize what that looks like. We're not saying if I worked 5 years in marketing that I'm going to get 3 credits of biology because those don't necessarily mesh. It's not applicable. It's not the same learning objective. But I think, as these sorts of things evolve too, what we're finding is that, we know learning extends beyond the classroom, but when we really hone in on those learning objectives, we might not call them learning objectives in a professional role. We might call them KPIs or something like that, but they do end up being really similar to a course learning objective in a standard classroom. So to give like a real life example, in my role working in credit for prior learning prior to coming to Sophia, a lot of that came from the students writing about their portfolio as well and being able to say like, here were my KPIs in this role. This relates to marketing 101 because X. So being able to really have specific ties to specific aspects of both the course and the experience itself, I think is really helpful. In the realm of Sophia, it's a little bit, in my opinion, easier to make those connections because we also have learning objectives and we also have goals of the course and things like that. But no, I think the best way to do it is like, here is this person's portfolio. Here's exactly what they had. Here's exactly the credits that they got. And here is like the why behind it.
Awesome. Where can I find a sort of articulation matrix that shows what particular certifications might be articulate into terms of a specific course?
So for Sophia specifically, you can go to sophia.org. And then if you click on like Find My College, for example, you can see sort of a large scale version of that slide I shared earlier with the course mappings. For certifications and things like that, I will defer to you, Jamie.
Yeah. When we made the agreement when we entered into the agreement with Sophia, our transfer evaluators kind of looked at what they offered and then had kind of the comparison. I always, when we have students that are interested, we refer them directly to Sophia's site to look at it, like look up Champlain College and look at the courses that are there.
The other piece of that too, before I forget, is like the ACE recommendation. So if you're looking for like, beyond CCO, beyond Sophia, that sort of thing, I recommend the ACE website. I spent so much time on there when I was working in a CPL role. And that's sort of the governing body at Sophia. So all of our courses are recommended through ACE, and CCO takes ACE credits and therefore takes the Sophia credits. But that's a great place to start too if you were looking for like a specific certification. I know they have, or I think they have. It's been a long time since I've been on in that sort of role, but things like military transcription, things like that. Those sorts of certifications, I think I remember there being one like a first aid-esque type of one. Those sorts of certifications can typically be found within the ACE website.
Wonderful. I think if you guys want to take a glance at the chat just to make sure I didn't miss anything, feel free to please let us know if we have anything else that you would like to ask our panelists today in the chat box or in the Q&A. We'll give it a couple of minutes just to see if there's any other questions come through. What is the cost of a Sophia course?
Yeah, great question. So Sophia is like a subscription, so they pay $99 a month. And within that month, they can take as many courses as they want, but they can only be active in 2 at a time. So the reason we do that is we don't want students to overfill their plates, to pull from my academic advising days. We don't want them to overfill their plates, and not succeed in the courses. So they can be active in 2 courses at once, and it's a 99 monthly subscription. There's, I think, I'm blanking on our pricing model, but there's also a 12-month subscription. I think is a 4-month subscription as well they can do, depending on how long they want to stay with Sophia courses and how many they want to take. And I saw, Amber, your question. Yes, all Sophia classes are ACE approved.
Wonderful. Oh. It looks like we have one in the Q&A. ACE recommendations are determined by 3 faculty SMEs across the US to equitable treat all ACE credits the same. I think it's more of a comment than a question.
Could you repeat that one more time, Brooke?
Yep, ACE recommendations are determined by 3 faculty SMEs from across the US to equitable treat all ACE credits, Sophia, etc., the same.
Okay, gotcha. Yes.
I
agree, Brooke.
I think it was more of a comment than a question.
I do see another one in the chat, Tiffany. There are 3 different options for sending transcripts from Sophia. So some institutions use Parchment. Jamie, I believe you guys are automatic, correct?
Yes.
And then we, in some cases, we do Credly as well. I would say a majority of our partners do automatic transcripts. So once a student completes a Sophia course, their transcript gets sent automatically to, I believe Tina gets the ones at CCO. Whoever does either their CPL, the registrar, academic advising, things like that. But there's 3 different options. So automatic, Parchment, and Credly. And the automatic transcript, Tiffany, these are great questions. When you, if you have an agreement with Sophia, what will happen is we will set up your landing page, we'll do a kickoff call, and we'll talk a lot about how you want any student reporting done, how you want to do the automatic transcripts. A peek behind the curtain, the transcript setup is just me inputting receives transcripts automatically and goes to X email, something that Sophia sets up on the back end.
Wonderful. Is CPL only to be considered at the beginning of the program?
So I would say it's better to get it done at the beginning of the program, but not necessarily, because it can save you from taking some of those courses that like I taught public speaking for way longer than I should have. Public speaking is one of those courses that no one wants to take, but they probably have a lot of work experience in it. Instead of taking the course, you'd probably want to get it done at the beginning, but I would approach your institution and check. I know we've had people that learned about CPL a year into their program and then were able to still complete some coursework in that and get credit for some of their knowledge. So preferably at the beginning, but I think it's okay to kind of keep going.
Is there a cost associated with the partnerships with Sophia? I saw your response, Olivia, but it came to just me alone, so I was gonna tap you to
Yeah, no
share that
worries.
with everybody.
So if you were to do if there is an option, if you want for your institution to pay for your students to take Sophia, there obviously you would work with our business development team to determine what that would be. But for I would say most of our institution partners, it is a student pay partnership, so there's no cost to the institution. The students would just pay for their subscriptions, and then the articulation that you have with Sophia is what sort of maps those courses to articulate at that institution. So the students would be in that model, it would be student pay, no fee for the institution.
Yeah, and I will just add, the thing that I have noticed most about the students that we work with that we send to Sophia, when I give any type of presentation, I always talk about them and I say, this is a great option for your employees. Because again, I'm mostly interacting with organizations, businesses, that type. What the student feedback to us is they are surprised that we would direct them somewhere else to complete classes, but they are happy about the experience because we've saved them that time and money. So it really builds a sense of trust between you all with your student, because the student knows that you're just not there to take their money. We just want all the money. We want you to take all your classes here. We want what's best for you, and we want you to get to that finish line as quickly as you can. So I will just encourage you that it's students appreciate it. So I just a big props to Sophia, because it is a great service, and it is one that our students are very thankful for, and very thankful that we tell them about it as well.
Thank you so much. All right, we had something else come through the webinar chat if you guys want to take a glance at it.
Also, hi, Sabrina. Sabrina and I used to work together when I was in my last CPL role, so it's good to see your name again. Just 1 second to read through this.
Yeah.
Sabrina, that's a great question. So in terms of the instructor credentials, our courses, I'll start with like the course design. Our courses are designed, of course, by instructional designers, but also by subject matter experts. So all of them have some higher level degree, whether it's master's, PhD. I would say majority have the PhD. And then that goes the same for our graders as well, our subject matter experts. It's not just a, you can grade environmental science because you have a degree in education. We want them to be experts in their field. So for that reason, both course designers and, or the folks writing the course content, I should say, and the faculty for the courses are subject matter experts, typically with a master's or higher. In terms of academic integrity, there is a plagiarism checker that the graders at Sophia use. In terms of your AI comment specifically, and in my previous role, I worked at an AI company, so I'm very privy to the concerns surrounding AI. I just met with our academics team yesterday, and they talked a lot about how we at Sophia take a learning approach when it comes to AI. So we want students to know that AI is a tool that you can use, but it shouldn't be the only tool that you use. So we do have a way that that our graders are trained to monitor for it. But it's very much a, hey, we noticed that in your paper, you copied something that says, I cannot speak to this feeling because I am ChatGPT. Obviously our graders are going to know, okay, that's not a human being writing that, they copy and pasted it. And then from there, it goes through a typical, they get a warning and they get a conversation about like AI as a tool. Like I said, it's not the only tool that you should be using. It should help you with your thinking and not do the thinking for you. So it is something that Sophia continues to explore. We want to be innovative and we want to be a thought leader in that space, but we also want to keep in mind our students and their success. We don't want to punish, we want them to learn. Sabrina, I hope that answers all of your questions. I'm just reading through one more time. Anything to add there, Jamie, about entering just like the online course delivery space?
Yeah, I mean, we lean into AI, but we often tell our students that, just like you said, Olivia, it's one resource. It's just one. It's good to throw ideas off of and, get some ideas, but not to, let's just cut and paste and bring it over at all.
Awesome. Thank you for addressing that comment. Is there anything in the last couple of minutes that you guys want to finalize, or any final thoughts for our webinar today?
I don't think so. If anyone has any questions about the presentation, our contact information is up on the screen. If you have questions about CCO or Sophia, feel free to reach out. And of course, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Jamie and Kale, for being such wonderful collaborators.
Yeah, thank you, Olivia. Thank you guys so much for attending. It was great. This is a topic I've been passionate about for a long time, so it's nice to actually have an audience to talk about instead of just my coworker. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody. We look forward to seeing you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.